Hello and welcome into another episode of Groomer's Take, episode 102, November 1st. Let's turn the page. Welcome to November. Everyone, good luck this month. I hope you do everything you want to do and you achieve everything you want to achieve and you absolutely kick its ass. The Buffalo Bills beat the Green Bay Packers the other night, 27-17. And I have a small, tiny problem. Not that the spread was 10.5, but I'm waiting for Buffalo to just absolutely floor it, dominate teams, bury teams, because get used to doing that. Just show everybody you're able to do it and do it. You don't want to come into a situation where it's going to be a tight game somewhere in the playoffs and they try to floor it and it's just not happening. I don't know. I want to see more of the Buffalo Bills because they're clearly one of the better teams in the NFL, and I want to see them dominate because, yeah, that was a good game by them and everything, but it just seemed like they managed the clock a lot in the second half. It wasn't a great second half, really. But yeah, Buffalo's still very good. They were in the talks to get Alvin Kamara if that was a deal that was possibly going to get done today in the trade deadline. It didn't happen, but Buffalo, just floor it. You're really, really good. They did make a trade, but we'll get into that in just a second. NFL trades. It was today. One of the busiest NFL trade deadlines in recent memory, at least for me. I think we got into the double digits. I did write a bunch down. Not every one happened in the last week, but it happened today. And some of them I didn't even point out because I don't know who the hell the players are. But let's get into some of them right now. Eagles defense gets a lot better today with the acquisition of Robert Quinn. I feel like I'm going to screw that word up a lot. I think this one happened maybe yesterday, but I don't know what it is. The Bears are unloading some pieces. And this is a great piece for the Eagles to get. Their offense is already high-powered. And now they add a beast like Robert Quinn to that defensive side. Very, very good. Kansas City Chiefs bolster the offense with wide receiver Kadarius Toney. Kadarius Toney hasn't played yet this year at all. I think he's dealing with a couple bad hamstrings. The Giants picked him first in the first round last year, and he has a lot of talent. What I think this move is the Giants being as successful as they have been this season without him in the lineup. So they're getting some pieces back. And Kansas City's just, like I say, bolstering. This is a move to compete with the Buffalo Bills. They're coming after them hard. They know how good Buffalo is. They know that they can hurt them in so many different ways. And you knew Mahomes and Kelsey can get it done, but now you add Toney once he becomes healthy. McCole Hardman's had a good year. Juju Smith-Schuster. I mean, this is the way I look at it. I think Kadarius Toney has a bit more to give than Juju does when they're both 100% healthy. I like this trade a lot. Really for both teams because the Giants, they're kind of rolling right now. Here we go. Bears continue to unload by sending another valued defensive piece to the Baltimore Ravens in Roquan Smith. Roquan Smith has been, I think, with the Bears for a couple years now, but very, very good defensive player. The Ravens are already a pretty good team. I'm going to talk a bit more about them later, but they get a really good piece here on the defensive side. Another big, big move. Minnesota Vikings acquired tight end TJ Hawkinson. Yes, an in-division trade. I mean, shoot, I don't know much, but this is really weird to me. Why Detroit would trade, like, best player in a way? Like, this guy is a good engine for an offense. He's one of the better tight ends in the league, top 5, guaranteed. And now you traded him in the division to the Vikings. I guess that means Irv Smith for the Vikings is hurt. I don't know, but either way, Hawkinson is better. What are the Lions doing here? What direction is this? I don't even know what all the returns are, but it's not fantastic. And now here you go looking at the Vikings, and they're kind of rolling. They're 6-1 or whatever it is, but I'm always going to circle back and say Kirk Cousins is your quarterback. I don't know. But this is more to me, what the hell is Detroit doing? They've been the laughingstock for so long, and this is just going to continue that. I don't know, man. I thought this was the year we're going to see a bit more to Detroit, but it just still seems like an absolute circus there. Speaking of circuses, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they traded wide receiver Chase Claypool to the Chicago Bears for a second-round pick. I want to dive into this just a little bit. Chase Claypool, I think, drafted in the first or second round 2 years ago. Tough situation for a wide receiver to grow in Pittsburgh right now, right? You came from, at least in the last 2 years, you're going from Ben Roethlisberger, who wasn't himself for the last number of years before retiring. And then you have Mitch Trubisky, and now you have a growing Kenny Pickett. Tough situation for any wide receiver or even a tight end to grow in a system like this. The Steelers are going to be struggling, and they have a lot of different weapons. So you trade the piece that you want to go to. Chicago becomes a lot better. The thing is with Chicago is, can they trust Justin Fields? But I quickly wrote down the Bears' offense. You got Fields at quarterback, growing. He can run. Seems like he can pass. It just depends on the decisions he's making and how well they can protect him. What I like about this Claypool move is now you can add that to Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney can't do everything, and it seems like sometimes he's the only one going in any of that receiving core there. So now you have Mooney and Chase Claypool. I like that a lot. And you have a third option in N'Keal Harry. N'Keal Harry's not much removed from being drafted into the league by the Patriots, I think it was. And so this is a great little option for the three of them there. Cole Kmet, who has been absolute disaster, if you ask me, this year. I had high hopes for him. It doesn't seem like he's gotten it going. And then you have David Montgomery in the backfield, who it seems like they can trust, but sometimes you don't know. He's injury prone. He can make mistakes. But behind him, they have Khalil Herbert, who, when he's been given the option, or given the opportunity, he's run with it pretty well. And we could see what happens here, but those weapons I just named, they could do something in the next couple years here. This is all dependent on what Justin Fields can do and if their O-line's going to be good enough. And perhaps a lot to do with coaching. But Justin Fields, your guys are there now. Let's see what you can do with it. Circle back all the way up. Jacksonville Jaguars acquires suspended wide receiver Calvin Ridley. This one is something from the Falcons. So Calvin Ridley, for gambling, I think, right? Suspended for the entire year. This move screams to me again, Atlanta is pretty decent with what they have right now. They battle. Calvin Ridley is a perfect piece to have in your lineup, but maybe that's something you just want to get away from at this point. You want to get some return, and they did. From the Jaguar side, I'm kind of upset with them. I think a lot of football fans would say the same thing. You were expecting a lot more out of them this year, specifically looking at Trevor Lawrence. 2 years now removed from being the first overall pick. Gave him the last year to grow, or if even before that, I don't know. But right now we got to see something, and we're not really seeing it. I've been expecting more out of him. I'm not going to say totally as the Jaguars' offense, but again, something I quickly wrote down, we got Christian Kirk. So he's their number one right now before this move. I think Calvin Ridley can easily bump up for next year and be their wide receiver one. And Christian Kirk, I just don't think they believe in him as a wide receiver one. He's a fantastic receiver. Maybe they just look at it more of a wide receiver two, because right now behind Kirk they have Zay Jones and Marvin Jones Jr. Marvin Jones Jr. is still a good option to have, but when you look at that as a complete core, I'm not really sold on it. Maybe I can be sold on it next year if that whole core comes back, and most of them will. Now again, just like Justin Fields, this is on Trevor Lawrence. Show me next year. You talk about steps with a lot of these players and these teams. This has to be a step. Last year might be the last step. You don't know how long your life's going to be in the NFL. So it's time for them to get it going. The Buffalo Bills add running back Nyheim Hines from the Indianapolis Colts for running back, Zach Moss, and a conditional pick. No idea what the condition is. I'll first hit on Zach Moss. Zach Moss is first round pick 2-3 years ago. He clearly was not in favor up in Buffalo. They were working a lot with Singletary, and even James Cook was in there. And so Zach Moss didn't really have a home. Now he does, parked behind Jonathan Taylor in Indy, who's having a horror, awful, terrible year. And with Nyheim Hines, now you kind of have the same kind of player like Singletary. So I think they can kind of give you the same thing, but now you have two of them. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens there in Buffalo. I really do like this addition. Nyheim Hines can run with it, mostly known for the catch and run. So we'll see. Maybe they put them both out there in split back form. It's just yet again, another great option for Buffalo to have. I like that a lot. Houston Texans wide receiver Brandon Cooks didn't get traded today. There was a lot of rumors that he was one of them, that one of the players that would for sure be dealt, and he wasn't. I think this is a bit of a miss on the Houston Texans. Just with the way they're trending and the next couple seasons are going to look like for them. I thought they would have wanted to go out there and get some pieces. Again, maybe they tried their best and other teams just weren't willing. Maybe the offer wasn't there, but Brandon Cooks has had a pretty good year on a pretty bad team, and he could have been a piece for somebody to move forward. There was talk about Green Bay maybe adding to help with that young wide receiver core there and to help out Aaron Rodgers. But I think Green Bay might have looked at themselves and said, maybe this ain't it. This isn't the year. And just said, no, we're not going to give up any futures to get a bit better right now, because they might need those futures down the road to, I don't know, draft a quarterback again or something like that. But Brandon Cooks stayed. And then I'll get back to Brandon Cooks in a second here. The Cleveland Browns running back situation, Kareem Hunt did not get traded. That was another name that was really out there. Kareem Hunt said, whatever you got to do, get it done. I want to play. Seemed like he didn't care where it was going to be. I'm surprised more teams didn't call. I don't really know where Kareem Hunt would have been the best fit off the top of my head. Miami was a first thought for me, but I don't know. He didn't get moved. I'm really surprised by that. I'm not going to say that's a fail on Cleveland's part. When you have two good running backs, you have two good running backs. I don't know what his contract situation looks like either, but he stays. Baltimore Ravens didn't add a wide receiver, so this is why I wanted to get back to them. I think they're a really good team. Their defense got a lot stronger, but they're they just seem like the most injured team going right now. It seems like they're the favorite to win the AFC North. I mean, Cincinnati's struggling here, but Baltimore needed just to add kind of a cushion on that wide receiver core. I wrote them down again. Rashard Bateman, great wide receiver. Is he a wide receiver one? I'm not totally sold on that right now, and he's hurt. So you have a bit of a wondering there. Then you got Devin Duvernay, who's a good player, again, not really a wide receiver one. And then I think it's Demarcus Robinson who's there, and exactly, can't have him as your third, just not going to work. Mark Andrews, tight end, fantastic player, got hurt last game. Backup tight end, likely, last name, first name, don't know, comes in, and he looked fantastic, but that's for one game. I mean, I think they should have made a bit of a move at the wide receiver slot here, because if you went Brandon Cooks, Rashard Bateman, Devin Duvernay, all healthy, and then a Mark Andrews, that's massive. They've kind of got a rotating merry-go-round of running backs right now. I think Dobbins hasn't been completely healthy all year. Justice Hill, Gus Edwards, believe there as well, but they're still rolling. I just think, I'm not going to say they failed on trading day, because they didn't. They added a fantastic player on their defensive side. I just was thinking that maybe they would want to add something on the offensive side, but that's what happens. And I'm not a GM. Trade deadline, NFL over. We can put it in cruise control and just enjoy the rest of the year. It's going to be fun. A lot of good teams, a lot of good games coming up. It's going to be enjoyed by all. Raptors smashed the Hawks last night. I feel like we're going to talk a lot more about the Toronto Raptors this year than we have in the last 2 years of doing this program. I like them, strictly because I like them, and I don't know much about anything, but especially NBA, and I've watched a couple games and I like what I see, and I've given hell to Pascal in the past, but he's looking unreal right now. He's looking like an elite player, and that's exactly what the Raptors thought they were getting. Keep going, Raps. 64 points in the first half yesterday. Incredible. Love it. Another quick note, Steve Nash is out as head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. The happiest person in the world right now is Steve Nash. Why would he want to be there? It's an absolute shit show of a team, of a franchise right now. It seems like the players just run the show, and it's a shame, but good. No, you know what? Steve Nash, good. He's out. Take your talent somewhere. He's an intelligent basketball mind, and he can go help a team that not just needs it, but would love to have him in their franchise somehow. Toronto Maple Leafs return home to play tomorrow against the Flyers. A lot of talk about them recently, but really just get home, figure out a way to win a game. All these people talking about what trades can they do, this and that. We all know. We've all said it. We're not going to get into it now. So Leafs return home tomorrow. We'll see if they can get a win. They need one. Samsonov should be in net, or Samsonov. Keeps going back and forth. He's 4-2. That's a good record right now for the kid. Keep going. He's not the guy that needs to figure it out for the Toronto Maple Leafs. There's a lot of other people that do. I believe Game 3 of the World Series is on now. Last night was rained out. I'm still saying Houston. The fact that Houston split, that's weird. The fact that Houston split games 1 and 2 just makes me feel like they're more in the driver's seat. I don't know. We'll see what happens tonight. Another episode of Groomer's Take. Thanks for tuning in. Episode 102. Have a great week. We'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.